I just want to say I appreciate you clicking on this video because you didn't have to. And if you're new to the channel and looking for honesty and absolutely no shilling, then you've come to the right place. Watch my fucking videos! Before I get started, I'd like to kindly ask that you hit the like button and please subscribe to the channel for more content just like this.
Come on. Do it! Do it!
So I've been on a bit of a horror kick lately after some underwhelming horror from last week.
I'm too old for this shit.
And sometimes the best way to get over something like that is to take a shot on something new that you have no idea what it's actually about. And this week, that movie is Studio 666. I went into this with zero expectations, and sometimes that's the best way to approach a movie like this. Studio 666 is about the band the Foo Fighters moving into a creepy old mansion in order to record their 10th studio album. Once in the house, lead singer Dave Grohl finds himself Foo fighting some supernatural forces.
I understood that reference.
That threaten both the completion of the album and the lives of his bandmates. First off, I have to mention that I enjoy the overall concept of this movie. It's kind of a blend of many different subgenres of horror. You have elements of slasher, you have elements of demon possession movie, you have elements of haunted house movies. I know there's always been stories about real-life bands going to these sketchy places to record albums, basically as added inspiration. It's like deciding to record an album at the Sharon Tate murder house, which I'm pretty sure someone did.
But you one crazy ass bitch!
Only this time, in this movie, we get to see a supernatural event play out as a result of them moving into the wrong house. While the overall concept of the movie is pretty fresh, it is very clearly drawing inspiration from a lot of horror comedies from the past, most notably movies directed by Sam Raimi. It feels like the rock and roll successor to The Evil Dead.
Groovy.
It's got the campy tone, the over-the-top gory kills. Specifically with the kills, I think they are quite memorable, and they feature excessive amounts of violence and blood, which will appeal to the most hardcore horror fan. Another cool thing about this movie is that the legendary John Carpenter actually scored the film. It's an absolute W when you can convince a legend like John Carpenter to not only write music for your movie, but actually be in the movie in a cameo appearance. As a huge fan of John Carpenter, it's still nice to see him very much involved in the movie-making business.
You're okay. This one, real fucking ugly.
There is a heavy use of practical effects in this movie, which is again always nice to see. If you are in fact paying homage to Sam Raimi, then you need those type of effects. And you can tell that the Foo Fighters are very much a fan of these types of movies. And shout out to them for fulfilling a dream and bringing their story to life.
I like it a lot.
Even if that story didn't necessarily work for me on every level. I don't know how everyone else feels about this, but horror comedies are a very tricky thing to pull off. And I think that's why so few of them actually work, in my opinion. I mentioned the very intentional campy tone of the film, and that only really works until it doesn't. I found the very exaggerated versions of the band's personalities to be kind of obnoxious in this movie, and not in an entertaining way.
I knew it, I'm surrounded by assholes!
And some of the comedy in the movie is a little bit too James Gunn for me. It is a lot of dick jokes and juvenile humor, which I guess is not very far-fetched for a group of rock stars. But some of the comedy just felt a bit too forced for me and less organic than you would like it to be. Perhaps it's the comedic timing and the delivery of that comedy that didn't quite work. These aren't your typical trained actors after all.
That makes sense.
It's not completely unbearable, I just found a lot of the comedy moments miss more than they actually hit. It could just be because I'm kind of wore out by comedy in modern movies, because it always seems to be interjected in places where it doesn't really belong. And even though it's intentional here, it still just doesn't really work for me all that much.
Had you ever heard of the healing power of laughter?
I also felt like there's a point towards the end of the movie where it feels like the movie is starting to drag on a bit too long. It's one of those situations where you feel like the movie should have ended about 10 minutes earlier. I felt like the demons in the movie, or shadow people, looked a bit too generic for me. And there is use of CGI here to create them, and I would have preferred if they would have stayed with the practical effects in every aspect of the movie, if possible. Bottom line, I think this movie is a throwback to a simpler time. It feels like one of those cult classic movies that may gain a following over time. I just think that it's going to have a very niche audience and isn't going to work for everyone. I appreciate the attempt to take the horror comedy genre back to its roots. It's just trying to give us a bloody good time, and in many aspects it succeeds. I just think that the horror stuff was a lot more effective than the comedy aspects. I say this all the time, and I may sound like a stick in the mud when I keep bringing it up, but I wonder if they tune back the comedy just a little bit, if it doesn't actually help the quality of the movie. I personally think that it would make it a lot better.
No shit.
As it stands right now, I think Studio 666 is fun, but it doesn't quite stick the landing like I was hoping for. That's why I'm going to give it the Cathouse.
Saved by kitty litter.
So have you seen Studio 666? If you have, let me know what you thought about it in the comments down below. As always, please like, comment, share, subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell for notifications, and I'll see you next time right here on Real Shift. Thanks for watching. Peace out.
Y'all be cool. Right on.